Hello, small group leader. What does it mean to be truly devoted to your small groups? Acts 2:42 says this. You've heard it before. It's the most classic and best small group verse ever. They devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching, to the fellowship, to the breaking of bread, and to prayer. Everyone was filled with awe. Many wonders and signs performed by the apostles. All believers were together and had everything in common. It goes on to say they were selling property for each other, really caring for each other. And the whole book of Acts starts by saying they were meeting in the temple courts and house to house. What does it mean to be devoted? I lived in Springfield, Missouri for 6 years. And let me tell you about something about Missouri. There is no good sushi there, none at all. And I went sushi-less for 6 years. When I moved back to Northern California, someone took me to Mikuni's. I tasted sushi again. And I went through this season where I was devoted to sushi. I would tell all my friends about sushi. I would talk to my wife about sushi. Every time someone said, "Where'd you want to go?" I didn't go, "Oh, I don't know. Where do you want to go?" I looked right at him. I said, "I want to go get some sushi." I went through a time where I was really devoted. Here's the key of being a great small group leader. You have to pastor this thing to the devotion level, not to the attendance level, but to the devotion level. How can you do that? Well, it takes hard work. It takes contact. It takes great discussion. It creates great material. This week in the sermon outline, we actually put some pointers in there for you on how to get it to the devotion level. There's 5 things you want to ask yourself as a small group leader that really produce devotion. Number 1, it said that they were teaching. They were devoted to the apostles' teaching. Is anyone learning anything in your group? What are they learning? You really have to watch the content of your group. You don't want to be over teaching or lecturing, but people week to week should learn something new. If you're just having fun and talking with each other, eventually that will run its course. Be a person that brings great Bible content, great Bible study, so that people are actually learning new things. If they're learning new things, they'll become more devoted. The second thing it says about them, they were devoted to breaking bread. Now, this isn't having a meal together. Snacks are great. It's more about having the Lord's cup, the Lord's Supper. And what the Lord's Supper does is it refocuses on the death and forgiveness of Jesus. It refocuses us on grace. Is there a decided moment, maybe once a month or every other week, where you guys take a moment and really refocus on the grace of God? A great way to do this is to literally do communion in your small group. Here's the third thing that produces devotion. They prayed for each other. It says they were devoted to prayer. Do you have specific moments where you intercede one for another? Don't make that mistake of doing a bunch of talking and then a quick closing prayer. Stop and say, you know what? We're just going to pray for one family this week, just one family, and we're going to really pray for them. Have a moment where kids can pray. Have a moment where married couples can pray for married couples. That's really cool. When you're praying for someone else's marriage problem, your marriage feels better. Have a moment where you really pray. And then it says, as each had need, they were giving. In other words, they solved real problems. You want to create true devotion in your small group? Technically, truly solve each other's problems. There's a small group at Bayside that one of the members went through a personal family tragedy. They lost a family member. This family had all sorts of commitments and obligations. You know what happened? Their small group came in literally in a 24-hour period and said, you guys do the hard work of grieving. We'll take over your projects for Serve Day. We'll take over your obligations for grocery shopping. We'll take over all the day-to-day stuff you can't do when a crisis hits. Here's the thing that creates devotion. When people serve each other in a practical, tangible way, when they share resources. The last one, it says, they had glad, sincere hearts, and they praised God. What makes devotion happen in a small group? When there's joy. Is there enough fun in your small group? Do you guys laugh together? When you praise God, is it a dirge of, oh, where art thou, how art thou? Or do you guys actually have some fun praising God? Find someone musical, just anyone. There's a bunch of teenagers around Bayside that play the guitar. Get some fun and praise into your small group and you'll create devotions. Now, how do you know you've done this task? Here's 3 ways to measure it, and I'm going to go through these real quick. Number 1, do they come early and stay late? If your small group members are coming early and staying late, you're doing Acts 2:42 correctly. Number 2, are they sharing resources? Are they borrowing each other's cars? Are they giving each other's kids rides? Are they talking about who gets to study in what study group if they're a youth or high school students? Then if they're sharing resources, you've got devotion. And here's the thing, Are they spending organic time with each other outside? Do they come early? Do they share resources? Are they spending time with each other outside the small group? When they're truly devoted to each other, you saw this in the disciples' life. Jesus dies, they all go fishing together. Matthew doesn't fish, he's a tax collector. They just had learned to be together. They had learned to prefer each other. When you see that sort of behavior, you're doing it right. If you don't see that sort of behavior, be encouraged, but keep working at devotion. Have an honest talk about devotion in your small group. Don't get to the attendance level. Go past that level to the devotion level. All right, great job, you guys. I hope this helps.